So guys, I know I'm a bit late to the party, but I've just been able to watch the 12-round fight that was Tim Bradley versus Manny Pacquiao. All three judges scored it the same scorecard, 116 to 110 in favour of Manny Pacquiao. I scored it one round closer. I had it 115 to 111, but no questions at all with the result. Manny Pacquiao was a definite winner. And to be honest, I concede 116, 110 scorecard very, very easily indeed. Funnily enough, when I watched the first round of this fight, I actually scored the very first round to Tim Bradley. And I thought, oh dear, I'm not going to score another controversial fight in favour of Tim Bradley, am I? Because I know that the public perception was that Manny Pacquiao won this fight wide. And I scored the first round to Bradley, and the commentator who was commentating on the stream that I watched actually scored it to Manny Pacquiao. So I was worried that I was en route to creating another scorecard that would get me huge abuse. But to be fair, from rounds 2 through to rounds, just having a look, from rounds 2 through to about round 7, I've scored it all to Pacquiao. And to be honest, the rounds that Bradley did pick up were at the end of the fight when, to be honest, the rounds were not really so important to Manny Pacquiao because he was so far ahead. So it was a dominant performance to Manny Pacquiao. And I give him full credit for it. On this channel I was sceptical about an ageing Manny Pacquiao, and I thought Tim Bradley was potentially in the form of his life, so I was inclined to pick Tim Bradley. So full credit goes to Manny Pacquiao, full credit goes to everyone who said that Manny Pacquiao would win this fight via points. And I thought it was, a real dominant performance from him. He looked light on his feet, he looked fast, he looked fluid in there, he was putting punches together well, he was landing his straight cross very, very nicely in the fight. And there was such snap and precision to his punching that he was much more eye-catching, and it was very, very easy to score the tight rounds to Pacquiao. And admittedly, there were some tight rounds early on, but I just felt Pacquiao deserved to win them because of the snap, speed and power behind his punches. Early on, Tim Bradley, I thought he was struggling to judge the reins a bit. We saw his jab coming up short multiple times. His jab was becoming slightly inaccurate. I also thought he was guilty of loading up with shots from the outside. There was a few times we saw him throw lead crosses, lead power punches. And he was obviously trying to generate power and plant his feet and throw them, but it just wasn't effective against Manny Pacquiao. Pacquiao was coming in and out of range very nicely. His movement was on point, his judgment of range was on point, and to be honest, he couldn't miss with that straight left. He was throwing it over and over and over again. The commentators I was watching said maybe it's because his hook isn't working because of his shoulder injury, and in the corner Freddie Roach said no, there's no need to throw the hook, the straight punch is working so nicely. Fair play to that. Both knockdowns for me were a result more of Tim Bradley being a bit overcommitted and therefore out of balance, but credit to Manny Pacquiao, they were both deserved knockdowns. Both times a punch landed and Bradley was knocked off his feet, so both 10-8 rounds were justified. Funnily enough, apart from the first round, the next round that I scored Tim Bradley was actually the 8th round, and I thought that was his most effective period of the fight. He's a bigger man than Manny Pacquiao. I suspect he's a stronger man than Manny Pacquiao. And when he was really trying to get up close to Pacquiao, I thought he could hurt him. Pacquiao's a dangerous guy to stand on the outside with and throw from range. He's also a dangerous guy to fight at sort of 3/4 range in the pocket. But when Bradley was fighting him from 6 inches away and making it a real sort of physical war of attrition, I thought that's when he was most effective. And funnily enough, going into the 9th round, I thought Bradley's success was continuing. Clearly in that round, he got dropped by Manny Pacquiao, and what would have perhaps been a 10-9 round to Tim Bradley quickly became a 10-8 round on everyone's scorecards to Manny Pacquiao. So I thought Bradley was starting to build momentum there, but it was crushed quickly and effectively by Manny Pacquiao. And after that point, it was too little too late for Bradley. Whilst he came on strong, and whilst I think there's a good argument that he won the last few rounds, by that point, Manny Pacquiao was so ahead that Pacquiao was possibly inclined to take a safety first approach and, just box the rounds rather than looking to overcommit. Fair play to Manny Pacquiao. He still does have a lot left. I would suggest, based on that performance, with Floyd Mayweather retired, he still is the #1 welterweight in the 147-pound division, based on form. And he's clearly a tough man to beat. You know, it was easy after the Mayweather fight to say, I think Kell Brook could beat him. I think Keith Thurman could beat him. Based on that performance, I'm not actually 100% sure. Pacquiao's still got a lot to offer. And, you know, he's a difficult fight for all involved. He's got a lot of tools, and, you know, I was perhaps guilty of forgetting how many tools he did still have left. You know, credit to Floyd Mayweather, because Floyd Mayweather completely took away his game plan. You know, Bradley's a very sophisticated boxer, world-class pound-for-pound level boxer, very experienced, and he in no way was able to have any spells of effectiveness in terms of negating Pacquiao's game plan in the sense that Floyd Mayweather was. So, you know, full credit goes to Floyd Mayweather for his win over Pacquiao in such dominant fashion. You know, as for Tim Bradley, where does he go from here? You know, I was listening to the Boxing Voice last night, and there was a number of people suggesting that perhaps he could retire. You know, I'm not so sure he needs to retire. He came up against Onsong Pacquiao last night, and he didn't have the fight for it. I thought Bradley started too slowly, allowed Pacquiao to win too many of the early rounds, and, you know, maybe was unfortunate with the 2 knockdowns. They were deserved knockdowns, but maybe they were more off-balance type knockdowns that he can learn from. But I still think Bradley's got a lot to offer, and I think that Bradley can, you know, mix it with some of the stars in the welterweight division. I'd still like to see Bradley Brook, Bradley Khan, Bradley Thurman, Bradley Porter. You know, I'd watch all of those fights, definitely. As for Manny Pacquiao, Freddie Roach was saying that he'd like to see him fight Saul Canelo Alvarez and also Floyd Mayweather. You know, I could see the Canelo fight happening should Canelo come through his fight against Amir Khan, which I suspect he will do. I'm not a huge fan of Canelo Pacquiao. You know, for me, Floyd Mayweather, Tim Bradley, these are guys who've both had size advantages over Manny Pacquiao. And Canelo's just a different level altogether. And fighting up at the middleweight division, even if it is 155, I think it's going to be a step too far for Manny Pacquiao. I think his speed will certainly be adversely affected up at that weight, and I just don't think he's going to have the power behind his punches to deal with a guy as physically strong as Canelo. You know, Canelo comes into that ring on fight night as a light heavyweight, and personally I view Pacquiao as a light welterweight, if I'm honest, and I don't want to see a light heavyweight versus a light welterweight. You know, it's an intriguing fight because Pacquiao's clearly got a hand speed advantage, he's clearly got a foot speed advantage, and you know, maybe people will say he's got a boxing skill advantage, and with his southpaw stance, with the way he puts punches together, you could perceive that he could cause Canelo problems. But my concern is that Canelo's so relentless. You know, we saw Bradley being at his most effective tonight when he got up tight to Pacquiao, when he pushed Pacquiao back. I'm not sure Pacquiao will be able to deal with that coming from the hard-hitting Canelo Alvarez, and I think Canelo at this stage of Pacquiao's career would be too much. You know, the Floyd Mayweather fight, I must admit, I'm not desperate to see a rematch there after what happened last time. You know, I know Manny Pacquiao supposedly had an injury that night, but I just wish he could have boxed like he boxed tonight against Floyd Mayweather. I mean, even if Floyd had countered him, you know, even if Floyd had been able to hurt him and knock him out, it would have been a more credible performance from Manny Pacquiao to fight with that style than fight in the manner he did, which was to become extremely low volume and not really himself. But, you know, based on the performance last night, I've got to say that there's still plenty of room left in this sport for Manny Pacquiao. And, you know, whilst if he wants to retire, then it's certainly the right thing to do for him, and, you know, no boxer should fight on longer than they need to, I'd be inclined to suggest that there are still fights out there for him. And certainly I'd sit down to watch the Manny Pacquiao fights after last night's performance. I know the fact that he's with Top Rank causes difficulties. Perhaps it means that fights with the likes of Garcia and the Thurman Porter winner aren't going to be too forthcoming. But there's still some fights on that side of the play. You know, I know there's the Vargas fight, there's the Terence Crawford fight, you know, maybe there's the Victor Pistol fight. I don't know. There's still big names out there for him at whatever weight class he chooses to campaign at. And, yeah, I've got to say he looked good last night and reminded us that Manny Pacquiao is not a spent force just yet. All in all, a good fight. I thought the judges scored it very, very fairly, and I thought it was a dominant performance from Manny Pacquiao. I think I read a quote today that Floyd Mayweather said it should have been a draw. I'm afraid with the 2 knockdowns, Mr. Mayweather, I'm going to have to disagree with you, even acknowledging that you know far more about boxing than I do. But I can't see a way of giving Tim Bradley a share of this fight whatsoever. Credit to Manny Pacquiao, still got some miles left on that clock. Let me know your thoughts. How did you score it? Where do both men go from here? If you've enjoyed this, do hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel or would like to see more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, guys.